Welcome to Behind the Scenes of Substance Use.
In this episode, we will be discussing methylene dioxymethamphetamine, or more commonly known as MDMA.
MDMA is a controlled substance that is categorized as an amphetamine and can precipitate feelings of euphoria and hallucinations.
These are some of the psychological side effects associated with MDMA.
A high that lasts for 2 to 3 hours,
A positive change in mood,
a drop in defense mechanisms,
increased empathy for others,
as well as increased self-esteem and overall stimulant effects.
Users often believe they are taking ecstasy. However, over the past couple of years, increasing reports have shown high rates of contamination.
Since 2010, 61% of MDMA has shown to be laced with other, more dangerous chemicals, including PMMA, BZP, and other synthetic cathinones.
PMMA is 5 times more toxic than MDMA and can trigger more serious side effects, giving it the street name of Dr. Death.
Between June 11th and April 2012, there was a cumulative total of 27 deaths associated with PMMA, 20 in Alberta and 7 in BC. 10 patients were pronounced dead on scene, while 17 died in the hospital.
These deaths were attributed to multi-organ failure and serotonin syndrome, followed by cardiovascular collapse. Along with PMMA, multiple other synthetic cathinones were present and were responsible for the serious health complications involved.
Our guest, Tyler, is a graduate of engineering from the University of Alberta, and he has firsthand experienced the dangers associated with recreational substance use.
In 2012, Tyler overdosed on MDMA contaminated with PMMA. He is here to share his story with us and provide some insight into substance use.
My name is Tyler McVie. I'm 30 years old. I'm here because I had a brain injury due to MDMA. Before my injury, I was an electrical engineer. I'd been in school for 4.5 years, then just graduated, but then I got into drugs, and about 4 months later I had a brain injury which put me in a coma. They had to put me in a coma for 10 days. Then I was living in hospital for over a year. The very first memory I have before my injury was I drove to Northlands and started partying, started doing like MDMA mainly, and about 3 hours in I can't remember anything because that's when my injury started happening. Apparently, somehow I got home. I think I might have drove, which is bad. But when I got home, the drug started taking effect, and I started overheating. And I think eventually, with hesitation, my girlfriend called 911. Then I went to the hospital at the Green Nuns, and it was so hot they had to put me in an ice bath, and that didn't help, so they had to put me into a coma. Some major obstacles I had to overcome were when I first was injured, I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't even roll over in my own bed. So I had to relearn how to walk, relearn how to talk. My writing is still messy, but I can do it. And I also had to relearn how to drive because originally they had taken my license away, so I had to get that back. Some things that helped me through my recovery was I had a lot of support. When I was first in the hospital, I'd say my nursing staff helped me a lot because they were always really friendly and nice. And after I left the hospital, I joined a couple groups, and even though they were like, for example, a memory group, even though I was there to learn something, it was more beneficial because I got to meet a bunch of other people, like-minded people. That's really key. If you can find someone who is struggling like you as well and just talk to them, you can kind of connect. My knowledge of substance use back when I was using it wasn't very intensive. I knew it got me high and that's all I really cared about. I didn't really, I should have, but I didn't look into what I was taking. I would just peer pressure take it. Because my girlfriend had broken up with me and finals were coming up, so I was pretty stressed. So I was really susceptible to peer pressure, and I think my cousin's friend, he offered me MDMA, so I was like, hey, why not? Started doing it, then it kind of turned into a every weekend kind of thing. Even though it may be hard, just say no, because it's really not worth it in the long run. Like you may get high in short term, and hey, that's fun, but in the long run you could get an injury and that's not so fun. I think when I did MDMA, it was laced with PMMA, and I think that's what was the main cause of my injury. Like, I think the drug by itself is okay, but it's like 100% chance it'll be cut with something nowadays, so it's never really safe at all to do them. I think harm reduction would have helped me because I remember going to Shambhala one time, and in the actual festival they had drug testing stations, so you could, even though they were illegal, you could still go in there and test them just to make sure they were okay. And now if I wouldn't ever do them again, just because I know there's a chance they'd be mixed with something bad. People treat me differently after my accident by I get talked down to a lot, and people they ask me if I need help, even if it's like the simplest thing, but really that doesn't bother me. It used to. I used to be pretty stubborn about that. Like if people offered me help, I'd say no way. But now it doesn't bother me at all. I kind of enjoy when people ask if I need help. One thing I would have said to myself in the past, I would have shaken myself and be like, stop being an idiot. Your life is so great right now, why would you want to mess that up? If someone came up to me for advice, I would tell them, well, first of all, whatever is happening in their life, they probably don't need drugs to solve it. Like, I used to be pretty depressed. I think that's why I was susceptible to doing drugs. So I'd say seek, even though it may be hard, seek help, go talk to somebody. Just like talking to friends or even just like, I know it's kind of weird, but talking to teachers, just doing things that you like doing, like I liked working out and playing hockey and stuff, just do something physical just to get their mind in a better place, because I know even now I still tend to get a little depressed, but if that happens, if I do something physical, like even just going for a walk, that helps so much. Even though this really bad thing happened to me, I still think I'm in a better place than I was before.
We believe that majority of drug-related emergency room visits can be reduced if those who choose to use substances use in a safe and controlled environment.
If you or someone you know is interested in using recreational substances, keep in mind these 3 tips that can reduce the risks that are associated.
1. Test your substances.
2. Try samples of the substances and wait to see if any adverse reactions occur.
And 3. Never use alone.
Also remember that in the case of overdose, you or anyone else involved can call 911 and will be protected under the Good Samaritans Act.
The Good Samaritans Act provides exemption from charges due to possession and use of controlled substances for those who call 911 or are on the scene when help arrives. We hope this video has shed some light on the dangers associated with substance use.
And if you choose to use, please remember to use in a safe and responsible manner.